So, Avengers Endgame was a movie full of fan service, great visuals, and callback to previous Marvel movies. Like, fucking, they literally time travel back to Thor the Dark World. Who the fucking does that? Well, Avengers Endgame has great visuals, callback to previous Marvel movies, fan service, and the greatest third act a film can ever have. I watched the movie in the theater with my friends, and the crowd, my friends, the people sitting behind me, the people sitting in front of me, everyone was fucking crazy. Because the movie was so fucking great. I had a great time watching Avengers Endgame. And I cried when Tony Stark took his last breath. I cried when everyone was there at Tony Stark's funeral. I cried, I smiled, and basically I had every emotion while watching Avengers Endgame. But Avengers Endgame is not in my top 5 favorite movies list. It's not in my top 5 favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movies list. It's not in my top 5 Marvel movies list. Why the fuck is that? Well, let me explain. Don't hate me. Keep in mind that these are just my opinions, my thoughts, my likes and dislikes, my life, my rules, motherfuckers. Well, Avengers Endgame had a bad plot. Like, no disrespect to anyone, but it was bad. The main question before the release of Avengers Endgame was how are they going to bring back the fallen heroes? Like, we knew that the fallen heroes were coming back because the fucking trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home was released before the release of Avengers Endgame. A lot of people had told me like Avengers Endgame was gonna include time travel, and I didn't want that to happen because time travel is a tricky and fucked up concept. And like a franchise that spent over 10 years and more than 24 movies in building up characters and stories should not use time travel to fix the greatest, the most catastrophic event our heroes has faced. But like the movie turns out, they use fucking time travel, and I'm completely fine with that. I am completely fine with that. But in Avengers Endgame, we are told that going back to the past and changing something does not affect the fucking future. And we don't know if that's correct. We don't know. If they had used the basic time travel concept like most of the movies use, like if you change the past, you affect the present and the future, then this movie would have had a lot of stakes and would have been a lot more complicated. Okay, hear me out. Thanos is fucking dead. Alright? So Avengers are not afraid of him. They are just afraid that they might not make it back from their time heist, but they do. So, and they had no idea that the 2014 version of Thanos is coming to attack them. So like they are fine. Okay, oh yeah. Oh, they by the way, they're sad about Black Widow's death. So they are not afraid of Thanos, and they are not going to see them again. But it's because of fucking Nebula that they have to face. Like, she should have just pressed the fucking button and get back to the present. No, she had to wait in that pod and get fucking captured. Idiot. Sorry about that. Well, Avengers don't know that they face Thanos, and it's not a threat. It's more like their bad luck. They're having a bad fucking day. If Marvel Studios and Avengers Endgame had the concept that if you change the past, the future changes, then obviously the movie would have never happened, because they would have to just pick one stone out of a timeline and boom, problem solved. But fuck. Avengers Endgame was a movie that was there just to conclude the MCU. There were several instances of Avengers Infinity War where Thanos could have died. He could have been killed easily. He could have been defeated. But then Avengers Endgame would have never happened. And fans wanted it to happen. Marvel wanted to make it happen. So they did. Like, what the fuck was Doctor Strange's plan? I want to know. Just imagine that everyone in Avengers Endgame thought that they won't affect the future, but once they get back to the present after their time heist, they realize that oh my god, they fucked up because everyone is still alive and the people who were born in those 5 years are erased out of existence. And Tony Stark realizes that Morgan is out of existence. She was never born, and that breaks Tony Stark's heart and makes the movie even more complicated. So yeah, Avengers Endgame marks the end of the line for Iron Man, Captain America, and none other, because Thor 4 is happening, Black Widow is happening, and Hulk is alive. Clint might get his own show. So, back to the point. It concludes the arcs of Captain America and Iron Man, the two of the characters who preach the motto of moving on to everyone in the movie as well as to the audience. Like they're going to give up the role of the character, and people will have to fall in love with other actors playing other characters, because Iron Man cannot be replaced. No one can be as good as Robert Downey Jr. But in the movie, Tony Stark and Steve Rogers are the two characters who don't seem to have moved on. Right? Why is Tony still regretting the death of Peter Parker after 5 years? Like, okay, it makes sense to some extent, but here's the thing, Aunt May is dead, so no one is blaming him for the death of Peter Parker. Alright? So, basically, yeah, he has isolated himself, he should move on. But he doesn't. If Aunt May was alive, and she would have blamed Tony Stark for Peter Parker's death, and then Tony's efforts to bring Peter back to life would have made a lot more sense. But Aunt May is dead. Now, a lot of people had lost their loved ones in Infinity War, so they must have never moved on. Some people take a lot of time to move on. Or so the people who have not moved on, they keep talking about their loved ones. It makes sense, and it justifies Captain America's desperate attempts to bring everyone back, because he is running a support group and he is constantly surrounded by the people who are grieving. But Tony Stark should not be as desperate as Captain America, because Tony has a family, Tony has moved on, he has isolated himself. And it is shown in the movie that he doesn't want to take the risk. He doesn't want to lose his daughter, but he takes the risk because he's our hero. Yeah. But Tony forgets that there are people who have not moved on, but there are also people who have. It's been 5 years and people have accepted everything as it is. But Tony messes everything up. Like, just imagine, suddenly the girl you lost 5 years ago is back and now she's 5 years younger. It makes everything so complicated. Fucking hell. In this movie, Tony, Thor, Captain America and Black Widow are the only heroes. Not the only, but these are the 4 heroes who are affected by the snap the most. Like, Tony is depressed, Captain is depressed, Thor is now fat, and Black Widow is definitely depressed. But the 4 of these leave Earth. Like, Tony Stark dies, Captain America retires, Black Widow is dead, and Thor goes to space. So they are not here to see the consequences of what they have done. Hulk is there and Clint Barton is there. But Clint has his family. And it's basically a happy ending for Clint Barton. In Far From Home, in Spider-Man Far From Home, a lot of consequences are ignored, and the ones which are mentioned are treated as a joke, and I did not like that. Like, it's a fucking catastrophe. 3.5 billion people are dead, and they're suddenly back to life. There are consequences, but they are ignored. Now I really hope that the future MCU movies focus on the consequences of sudden return of more than 3 billion people who had been dead for 5 fucking years. And I think Thor 4 Taika Waititi is going to direct Thor 4. I think it should deal with the consequences that, like, okay, 3.5 billion people are back and many of them are homeless now, so they might try to overthrow Asgard to regain a place, to regain their homes and whatever. Like, it's a great concept. So that's all for today. Keep in mind that these are just my opinions on Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame is a fucking great movie and I love it, but I tend to overanalyze things, and when I do that I find flaws in movies. So by no means I'm trying to disrespect the fans and the people associated with the movie. I love you all, and if you enjoyed this video, do hit the like button. If you did not enjoy, you can hit the dislike button. If you want to do something good today, subscribe to my channel, and if you want to give me your opinions, if you agree, disagree, whatever, you can leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Peace.